Welcome to Alzheimer Speaks Radio. I'm your host, Lori La Bey, and I'm so excited that you're joining us today. We are going to have a fascinating conversation as usual as we learn from people all around the world at all ages and stages of life. Stay tuned as we shift our dementia care from crisis to comfort.
Here we go. What you think about, you will bring about.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Alzheimer Speaks Radio. I hope you enjoyed our opening music called Clarion Call by the Mark Arneson Band. You can download that on any of your favorite music platforms. For those of you that are new to our show, Alzheimer Speaks is about sound information, not just sound bites. We want to have real conversations with real people all around the world. And that's what we're going to do today when we talk about jelly drops. But before I introduce you to our guests, I want to give a few shout outs. And of course, I want to pump up Dementia Map. Go get on the map. Check it out. Just dementiamap.com. There are all kinds of great resources, and it is changing on a daily basis there. Everyone from around the world with any type of service, product, or tool for dementia is welcome to go ahead and sign up. And we have a variety of services, products, and tools from all around the world. Now, there's lots of cool things going on. On April 6th, the film Determined Fighting Alzheimer's is going to air on PBS. So check that out in your area for the time. So as far as events go, on April 7th and 8th, I am going to be in Winona, Minnesota for their Dementia Friendly Community Week. And we are going to be doing a screening of the film A Timeless Love with a talkback that is totally free. Also free and sponsored by Artist Senior Living on April 20th is going to be a virtual presentation called As the Cookie Crumbles. And you can find more information about both of those by going to alzheimerspeaks.com. If you have done something cool for the dementia community, please go ahead and fill out your application for MODS Awards. If you are an individual, you could win up to $5,000, and for organizations up to $25,000. And that's just modsawards.org. On May 12th, up in St. Cloud, Minnesota, there's going to be a hybrid event. So that means you can come to the event in person or you can attend virtually. It's a dementia summit, and the keynote speaker is going to be Dr. Dale Bredesen. And so that'll be an interesting one. That is free, so check that out. And if you need CEUs, then there's a fee for that as well. On May 3rd, Lorenzo's House is going to premiere a film and have a panel discussion of the story of Lorenzo's House, which is really about young onset and how that affects a family. Lorenzo's House is also really big on helping tweens, teens, and young adults deal with dementia. And so on June 24th, from 10 to 4, they're going to have a big youth camp. They also have a couple options for virtual sessions as well. So you can go to lorenzoshouse.org/youth-summit for that. So those are just some of the things I wanted to highlight. Last, I want to tell you about a couple of support groups I do. One is Arthur's Memory Cafe, sponsored by Arthur Senior Care. And that is on the second and the fourth Wednesday of each month at 1 o'clock Central Time. That is a virtual. And so we've had people from all around the world join us on that. And then the last Wednesday of the month at 10 a.m. Central, Brookdale North Oaks and the Shoreview Community Center sponsor, connecting caregiver group. And we are hoping in April we will be able to meet in person. We're going to hear from the Adaptive Equipment and Caregiving Corner. They're going to be talking about the foot bar walker, and then I'll be right back to introduce you to our guest today. And we're going to be talking about a dehydration and a great new product called Jelly Drops that can really help with that. So we'll talk in a minute.
I love the footbar walker, and let me tell you why. It is the option for my toolbox that I've been waiting for. Let's be honest, there are some clients who, despite our best rehab efforts, just aren't able to return to performing a sit-to-stand transfer on their own. Now I can offer my caregivers an easier, safer option that doesn't involve hoisting their loved one up from a sitting position. I don't recommend this walker for all of my clients, but I do recommend this walker for those caregivers looking for an easier, safer option with transfers. I would also encourage other therapists to add this walker to their toolbox. It's kind of like having my own mobile parallel bars for the client to pull up on. Whether it's a family caregiver at home helping a loved one with Parkinson's or dementia, CNAs in a long-term care facility assisting their patients, or therapists adapting to client and caregiver-specific needs, we now have a very safe and effective option to offer in the footbar walker. Check this product out at thefootbarwalker.com. That's it for today from Adaptive Equipment and Caregiving Corner. Have a great day, and don't forget, if you can't do it, adapt it.
Okay, well, it's time to introduce our guest, and we're going to be talking about jelly drops and how they can combat dehydration, which is a major issue for so many people, not just the dementia community. So I am honored to have with us today Louis Hornby. He is a 27-year-old inventor and designer, and he has been driven by this passion for social good. And while he was studying innovation design engineering at Imperial College in London and the Royal College of Arts, he worked on a range of social impact projects. And that all changed for him in 2018, which he's going to tell us about. And that is when the idea of jelly drops was born. And it was through his hard work and through the backing of the Alzheimer's Society's Innovation Accelerator Program and a range of prestigious awards and widespread global attention that just kind of blew up his concept. Louis continues to spread awareness of the risk of dehydration in elderly and those with dementia. He's been the recipient of a wide range of awards, including Dementia Care Innovation Award, the Snowdon Award for Disability, and the Meaning-Centered Design Award. He currently leads and continues to research the development of jelly drops as Chief Product Officer. So, Louis, thank you so much for joining us today. So, Louis, I always start out the conversation by asking if you've been personally touched, by dementia, which I mentioned in the intro, but can you just give us a little bit more background?
Yes. So I initially developed developed jelly drops with my grandma Pat. I usually introduce as my chief research partner. She had dementia for about 7 years, but about 5 years ago, her condition started to decline quite dramatically, and that's when the issue of dehydration was I was made aware of it. So that's where jelly drops all really came from to begin with.
Okay, wonderful. And was she living at home, or was she in a community at that time, or?
So initially, Grandma was living in her own home, and then had some people come in to support her with that. But when she was really struggling with the dehydration, it was while she was in a nursing home. So at the time, I was at university, so I didn't really get to see that much of her. I could go on holidays, but that's when it's really started becoming a bit more of an issue.
Okay. Well, so you've had experience through all the levels, kind of care with your grandma. So that's always nice too. A lot of people don't have all of those levels of understanding with the process there. Well, why don't we start by telling us what exactly is jelly drops?
The jelly drops are innovative candy that are designed to support hydration for people that struggle to adequately hydrate themselves. And the sweets themselves are 95% water with added electrolytes, and they're vegan and sugar-free. So they're designed to support hydration, and they come in 6 sort of fruity flavors.
I think that is so important. At first I was thinking when you sent them to me that I was going to bite into them and they were just going to go, and kind of pop all over the place with liquid. and they really are more of a jelly type piece, more of a treat, like you said, a candy, which I think is really smart because there's a lot of people out there, and I've had this with not my mom so much, but with other friends where their parents will stop drinking liquids just due to incontinence because they don't want to be rushing to the bathroom all the time. So they limit themselves. And then all of a sudden you're running into these dehydration problems. And I thought, gosh, they are sweet. They are really like a treat. You've got the different flavors and stuff in them. And I love, how kind of body friendly they are with the electric lights. I mean, you just don't know that you're eating something good. How long did it take you to kind of figure out how this is going to work? I mean, most of us would scratch our head and go, gosh, this is a horrible problem. But you said, yeah, but there's got to be a solution out there.
Yeah. Well, I think, initially after Gonmore started struggling with hydration, I was still at university, and I had an opportunity to spend 6 months to work on any project I liked. So I sort of thought that was a good opportunity, if nothing else, to just go and see and spend a bit more time with Gonmore. But as part of that project, I wanted to really help her stay hydrated. So I started by speaking with dementia psychologists to understand why people with dementia struggle with drinking. And like you said, there's perhaps people just don't want to drink. They don't want to go to the bathroom as often. But also perhaps people don't feel thirst, or they may not equate drinking with quenching thirst. They may not recognise cups or have a dexterity to use cups. And, it's quite difficult perhaps to put yourselves in those shoes sometimes. So I went to actually live in my grandma's nursing home for about a month. And that's where I observed a lot of these sort of behaviours. But I realised that whilst many struggled with drinking, a lot of people found eating, and especially finger foods, a bit more intuitive. Having said that, was sometimes difficult for people to always engage with their food, and that was, however, unless I offered them a treat. So generally I'd walk around the care home and most people would ignore me, which is fair enough. But if I had a box of chocolates or sweets, and everyone's your best friend and they're taking a handful and speaking with you, so that was the sort of principle behind it. The flavors and the bright colors and just the way that it's presented, it's really, really they're just sweets that anyone can enjoy. They just happen to be designed with people with dementia in mind. And it was really important that, it was sort of a way for people to hydrate independently, but also with dignity. I didn't want them to be sort of overly medicalized as such. And it also serves as perhaps a bit, to aid as social interaction as well. They can be shared between the family and the resident, or if they're living in their own home, or perhaps a caregiver. So I think the fun and sort of joyful aspect of it was also really, really important.
You mentioned something that I think a lot of people don't realize is that they don't necessarily want to eat or drink. I mean, that thought doesn't occur to them. They're not recognizing those signs within their bodies, or how many just, they, even if they see a cup there, they might not realize it's for them or what to do with it. And then you have the other aspect of, I see the cup, maybe I'm thirsty, but I can't pick it up either. You've got that combination as well. And these, I mean, you can't get hurt, by them, and they are finger food, so you can't pick them up the wrong way at all. And, then when you talked about, the colors, because eyesight can change and stuff too. So they're very distinct if you've got them, on a plate as a treat, or, in the cups that they come in, all of those types of things. And then the taste is different, the color. So they are inviting. I also liked when you said, they can be socially shared. That, you're taking away the stigma of, okay, get the IV out. And I'm sure there's a point when people are that dehydrated where they're going to need that. But if we've got this way to kind of prevent that, I think that's fantastic. Now, in talking with psychologists and doctors and things like that, for you, and maybe I should go there first, with your grandma, did she end up in the hospital because of dehydration?
Yes. So her condition was declining, very rapidly in general, and people weren't really sure why. They just sort of attributed a lot of it to the dementia, but it wasn't until she was hospitalized, unfortunately, that they realized it was just severe dehydration. And thankfully, after 24 hours on IV fluid, she, was back to her sort of normal, happy self, and went on to enjoy a good quality of life for years after that. But yeah, it was that initial sort of episode that really sort of highlighted the issue to me.
Mm-hmm. And did the doctors say anything about, did they have any recommendations on, how to keep her hydrated, how to avoid this? Because what I always hear is just, get the fluids in them. And that's not always so easy.
Yeah, it can be really difficult. And, often it's also difficult to know how much someone has had to drink, because you maybe put a cup out with them and you come back a bit later and you're like, oh, I'm not quite sure how much they've had. And some people are on fluid charts where they try to track that sort of thing, but it can be very difficult. And even with all the will in the world and all the time spent, if someone really doesn't want to or doesn't understand you're trying to help them to drink, it can be very difficult and not very enjoyable for them. So I really wanted to change potentially what could be, a very difficult task into, the highlight of the day, even. So sort of try and flip it and make it a lot more enjoyable. And people, I suppose, eat jelly drops perhaps because, they look inviting and they're sweet. It's not necessarily because they want to be hydrated. So that sort of, I guess that's one of the main benefits of them.
Well, and with somebody with dementia, you may have discussed, hey, you're dehydrated, we need to get more fluids in you, but that's not going to stick with them, after the fact.
No.
I also, I'm just thinking of a friend of mine whose mother was in an assisted living, and then she ended up moving to memory care. She was declining, but she was having a problem with dehydration. And I will never forget this story. She said she came in to visit her. This was during COVID. And she was really upset because she knew her mom was dehydrated. She could take one look at her and knew she was dehydrated. And so she called the nurse, to talk about it. And the nurse is like, well, she got plenty of water right there. And on the nightstand, if I remember correctly, Sue said, yeah, there's 8 glasses of water. And she handed her one. And she said, would you drink this? Because it was actually moldy. I mean, they were old glasses of water that never got taken away. She wasn't able to make that connection herself, to drink the water. And so it's like this, this would be just a really simple, kind fix for her mom, and just another option that wouldn't take staff a ton of time either. But to feel like, and I'm not saying all communities are like this, but to say there's not time to help somebody be hydrated is just a really sad statement, unless it's, one of their personal written requests that's been signed off on, that they don't want food or water, at that point. But yeah, I just think, gosh, that could have changed things for that family dramatically. But it was just a big hurdle. I think of, my other friend whose mom didn't want to drink because of the incontinence thing again. And, she fell in the bathroom and cracked her head open and landed in the hospital for quite some time. And then things were never the same from that. So being aware that this can even be an issue. I think a lot of people don't even know that dehydration can have these effects on the body. And what would be some of the warning signs you would say are of dehydration?
Yeah, well, I think with grandma, it became more obvious when just her general sort of cognitive ability would decrease. So, sort of more so than would be typical. And I think it's a 2% reduction in hydration can result in a 10% reduction of cognition. And especially for, someone with dementia that perhaps struggles sometimes to communicate with you anyway, then that extra level of dehydration can really, really impact their ability to do that. And the knock-on effects of that is their ability to look after themselves and other parts of their life also. So, like you said, potentially increasing risk of falls and UTIs and things like that. But yeah, I think the sort of knock-on effects of dehydration can be quite drastic sometimes, unfortunately.
I've never heard that statistics of 2%, down in your hydration is 10% down in your cognition. So for our dementia community, that's huge to be able to click that in. And like you said, the prevention of falls, that they lose their balance, when your electrolytes get off, a lot of things go haywire. And, to be able to let them be independent in having a treat and getting that nourishment that their body needs, without this kind of medical invasion, letting it get to that serious of a problem. What a great invention, with this. What kind of response have you gotten from doctors and families alike?
Yeah, it's been quite incredible, really. I think when I first developed the product with Grandma, that was back in 2018, and I was doing a part of this university project, and I actually applied for a couple of competitions and put the video of Grandma eating the drops for the first time online, which was a really nice moment with Grandma. I think it was like 7 drops in 10 minutes, and it was really engaging with them and enjoying them, which was fantastic. But that video got taken and put online on Facebook and such, and I think within a few months or a few weeks even, it had over 100 million views and sort of went all around the world. A lot of the people that got in contact after that were actually based in the US. So that was such an amazing response to start with, and at that stage I was still making them in my student kitchen. So I was quite keen to scale up from there, because I was getting requests sort of every day for people to want to have the product, basically. So it took from then about 18 months to develop the product into something we could launch, and we launched in the UK in the summer of 2020. And yeah, the response was fantastic, and it was so great to see so many people enjoy them as much as Grandma did. And a lot of people have been waiting for quite a long time to get them, so it was really great to sort of be able to deliver on that. But yeah, it's been fantastic, the response.
Well, it was funny. I was talking with my partner Dave Wiedrich, who's the co-founder on Dementia Map, and he's like, I love that product. I remember hearing about that product. He's like, I want to talk with them as well on Memory Cafe directory and stuff to kind of get the story behind and get that out to, he's got a directory with like 1,000 different memory cafes in 5 different countries and
wow.
stuff. So that would be a great connection for you guys as well, as getting on Dementia Map and stuff too, and being part of that community as we kind of all grow together. I think that's the fun thing, is when you do something different, word spreads. And like you said, 100 million views. Who would have thought? I mean, I'm sure you were that was the last thing you thought was going to happen, was for it to blow up when you're making these things in your kitchen at school.
Well, definitely. It was a bit unexpected, for sure. And yeah, I think some of the things you mentioned there about dementia cafes and the network, I think we're really keen to, or excited to sort of get out into those spaces, because we launched in the middle of the pandemic. Basically, a lot of our response in the community, which is really great community, but a lot of it's online, and we're really keen to sort of get out there and meet people that were sort of they're having jelly drops, and be part of that a bit more. I think that'll be great, and hopefully as things open up a bit more now, then that'll be more possible.
Have you checked like with and target marketed, for example, like people with Parkinson's?
I think we haven't really actively done that, but a lot of people have reached out since launch that perhaps aren't buying them for someone with dementia, but perhaps people with learning difficulties or some cognitive disabilities, Parkinson's, with them being a solid sweet, easier perhaps to engage with than a fluid. But I think we've had quite a few people reach out saying how it's helped, and which is fantastic. But I think there's definitely more scope in the future to reach more people that could also benefit from jelly drops.
Yeah, I'm just thinking of, right away I thought of one group on Facebook that's just called Living Daily with Parkinson's. And Jose runs that group, and he's always looking for people to come and kind of talk to the group on Saturday mornings.
Right.
That's 10 o'clock our time. So I'm just thinking, we started at 8 o'clock today, so it'd be 2 hours later, for you. But that might be a place I can do an introduction for you there. And then I'm thinking, gosh, if you just shipped off some to Michael J. Fox with his group with Parkinson's, you could really blow up quickly in the United States, because of course, one of their biggest things is the shaking, and water in a cup, doesn't really work really well, for them. And this would give them much more control in terms of being, like you said, being able to hold something solid for them. So that could be really fantastic. But I encourage our audience just to think, dehydration happens to so many people. I'm even thinking for like my grandkids when they get sick, and they're, my daughter's like cramming the Pedialyte on them, and they're like, I don't want to drink anymore, but give them a treat, and would you say that that's an equivalent to a Pedialyte type, an electrolyte drink?
Yeah, I think it's not quite the same as exactly that sort of formulation, but I think, even in the office, we often at our computers, and we have a tray at hand, and within a couple of minutes you look down and you finished it off basically, and you hadn't quite realized. And with the tray format, I think there's only like 45 calories in the whole tray, so it's quite easy to get through them, and they are nice. But from a hydration point of view, also obviously getting the benefit of that. So I think it was really important when starting it, that, like I said, jelly drops are, were just sweets that anyone could enjoy. And really, I guess that means that, they're not specifically designed just to be applicable for one type of person or user. And that's what helps reduce, not have any stigma associated with them, but also means that, perhaps you have more benefit than initially sort of intended when they was just designing for grandma.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, there's so many things I think that are out there that overlap, purpose-wise, and that's one of the downfalls. We're not good at kind of cross-communicating that, and I think people really need to open their minds and spread the word and go, hey, if it's good here, it could work over here, and word of mouth is just such a powerful means. Now, if someone is dehydrated, and this is going to be a hard one because there's all different levels of dehydration, but let's say they're starting to falter, and you're noticing the cognition changes and the balance is off. Do you know how many somebody would have to eat to kind of bring them back, so that you don't end up in the hospital and with weight and all of that stuff? And metabolisms, I'm sure all of that varies, but is there a rule of thumb, or is this something that you're suggesting people that have hydration problems just have every day on a regular routine?
Yeah, I wouldn't say I'd be able to give a sort of a medical response to that answer in that specific scenario, but for jelly drops, at least, they're sort of designed not to necessarily replace fluids or what would typically be done in those scenarios, but for people that perhaps tend to struggle with hydration, they're just an extra tool that people can have, throughout the day. And many of the people that use jelly drops, perhaps consistently maybe struggle to reach their target sort of fluid intake, and they're just another source for them to sort of pick at and have on the sort of a regular basis to help maintain their hydration levels. Okay.
I excuse me. I just wanted to see. I didn't think it had necessarily an FDA backing per se with it, but I just didn't know if there was kind of a rule of thumb. And I know you have to be really careful with that stuff. You don't want to get in trouble with those guys. That's for sure. But I just think this is such a cool product that can be leveraged in so many ways. I was thinking even for somebody who's traveling and maybe doesn't want to carry a jug of water because they can't have it on the plane, to have a packet or something in their in their purse or their luggage, their carry-on, where they could just, have that, feel safe, not have to worry about turbulence on the plane, or,
Yeah.
or if they
Like,
can't hold the cup, be able to eat something like that.
yeah, for sure. I think, we initially the product just came in the tray format, and that was the format I designed with Grandma in the care home. But we've just launched it on a new snack pot format, which is, easier for sort of on the go, and so they have slightly smaller drops, but they're more like portion sizes. So rather than perhaps eating it over a day or longer, then it's more just like a one-off portion. So and the scenarios like you just mentioned, that sort of a bit more user friendly in those places.
Well, and then I'm thinking too, I don't know, my mind just kind of goes crazy with stuff like this, but I'm thinking people who, are hikers or something like that, you don't want to have water and stuff can be so heavy, to carry. And these are just really light and, could keep you hydrated, when you're out and things. I just think there's so many different uses, for them. That it's fantastic. What do you see kind of next for yourself when it comes to jelly drops?
Well, we're really excited to be launching it in the US later this month. I mean, that initial press I spoke about back in 2018, we had tens of thousands of people in the US sign up to a waiting list. So we've been working hard behind the scenes to sort of get the product over there as fast as we can, and we've already been in a sort of pre-launch phase, reaching some of those customers. That's been great, but I guess the next step is sort of opening that up and hopefully reaching more people that can benefit from the product. And I think perhaps beyond that, even jelly drops are a delivery system, and at the moment they're an engaging format that people like to eat, and they're geared towards hydration at the moment, but potentially there's extra benefits that we can add. So whether that be vitamins or protein, things like that. So potentially that's sort of on the horizon and something we're looking into at the moment.
Oh, that's exciting. Yeah, so this is just kind of version 1, with that, and being able to have different variables with that. I can see all of those being very successful, if they're a combination of, or if there's just different versions for different needs there.
Mm-hmm.
This would be great, and I don't know if they're doing that now in hospitals and stuff, but I'm just thinking when someone is admitted to the hospital for dehydration, are doctors referring this type of product out to people at all? Do you know?
Well, we have a few hospitals in the UK that currently use the product on their wards for perhaps elderly wards, to help for people that perhaps have come in through dehydration or perhaps had operations, and it helps to sort of that they're using it to sort of aid in the recovery. So yes, we have had a few hospitals in the UK reach out and use the product, as well as nursing homes, but a lot of the people that use our product at the moment are or buy our product, or the family of people with dementia that buy it directly from our website, and either have it in their own homes or take it with them when they go and visit in perhaps a nursing home or a hospital.
Okay. And is this covered by insurance at all, or is this all private pay?
So at the moment, the way that people can get the product is just via our website. That's the only place it's available in the UK. That it's on a couple of websites, also on the Alzheimer Society website, which is the biggest dementia charity in the UK, and we're very fortunate to be the first people accepted onto the accelerator program, so that it's available in a couple of places in the UK, but at the moment in the US it's just available at jellydrops.us, and that website at the moment isn't live. It takes emails for people to sort of sign up to get first access to join the waiting list, but it soon will be live, and that's where people will be able to purchase it directly.
Okay, so once you launch, will that site be live then? I just want to make sure that I have that correct.
Yes. Yeah, okay. So the site will be live with all the information. At the moment, it's just sort of a holding page that people can sign up to get notified when product is available.
Okay. And is there another website they could go to in the UK if they wanted to see more about it, prior to launch?
Yeah, I think there's some things out there. We have our UK site, but also the the wording and stuff is a bit different in the UK. So the US site is the best place to see all the sort of US relevant sort of content about the product. But that should be up in the next week or so, which we're very excited about. Yeah, probably next sort of mid-April. We're hoping. We're sort of dealing with some shipping issues at the moment, but I think on the whole, it's going quite well, and we should be on track to be available mid-April.
Shipping issues, you and the rest of the world. Yeah.
yeah.
It's complicated. I have poor friends that have purchased furniture months and months ago for new homes that they've bought, and there's nothing in them. They're still waiting. So people definitely understand that. I would love for you guys to let me know when you actually launch, because I'd be more than glad to push out a blog post and then be able to announce that, just kind of do a shout out on the radio shows and stuff, so that people know that you're open for business in the US officially with this. One thing I wanted to talk about, and I had mentioned this earlier on, that I was expecting, I would bite into this and it would just burst with fluid and stuff. Do you want to talk about the texture and why you made jelly drops in the form that it is?
Yeah. So I suppose jelly drops are quite unique in a few different ways, but the shape, I suppose, is one where it's a fully 3D sort of teardrop shape, and the thinking behind that was in the tray format that they were able to stand proud in that packaging, so it means people can sort of pluck them out of the tray. Whereas when I was initially offering candies out, in my grandma's care home, the chocolates or such were always sort of depressed in holes, and it was quite fiddly to get at them. So there's really, from a sort of dexterity to point of view, that's why they are the sort of text, the sort of the shape that they are, and sort of firm enough to pick up quite easily. In terms of the texture itself, the reason it's solid all the way through rather than sort of an encapsulation of a fluid is we didn't want to perhaps have an unexpected release of fluid in the mouth, which some people might not expect, and also it means they can be sort of bitten into and chopped up. Whereas if it was sort of an encapsulation, it might sort of go everywhere. And we've worked quite hard tweaking the texture even since launching. We're always sort of working in the background to improve, all different sorts of aspects of the product. But the texture, like you said, is like a sort of jelly sort of texture, and it's relatively soft, but it's got sort of like a bit of elasticity to it, so it's a bit more familiar and like a jello. And I think that was came from some of the initial feedback we had, that people liked it being a sort of familiar texture, and if it was something perhaps a bit different, then it maybe be a bit more unexpected. So that's the reason it has those attributes, and also the colours to help with people with limited vision, the high contrast against the packaging, and the same for the snack pots. Are the same shape drops, but they're loose, so they can also be quite easily picked out, and they're also slightly smaller, the drops in the snack pots, so perhaps easier to buy, and easier to hold for some people. So there's a couple of different versions of the product that we've sort of developed based on the insights that we've had since launching. I'm always keen to sort of get as much feedback as we can and learn as much as we can to sort of tweak and make the product the best it can be.
Well, those are all really good valid points, and I never really thought about the kind of scary surprise aspect. If you bit into something, kind of throwing people for a loop, that's the last thing you want to do, especially with someone with dementia that's not able to really process what's that all about, or have it all drip out too, because their mouth might not be all the way closed and stuff. So that makes a ton of sense. And like you said, being familiar, most people are familiar with Jell-O. It's soft. It's not something you have to chew really hard at. I mean, it doesn't dissolve in your mouth, but it's, if it went down, it's still going to process for the most part in there. But when I was sharing one with somebody, they said, "Oh, I was surprised that you were chewing it as much as you were," because again, everyone thinks, well, it's just liquid, it's just going to go down. But you do have that aspect where someone does need to chew and to process that. But it's a comfortable chew. It's not a work Oh my gosh, because for some people that is work, to have to chew.
Yeah, definitely. And people perhaps, with dentures and things like that, like we didn't want it to be overly sort of gummy or chewy. So yeah, it breaks up easily, but it does have to be chewed. And I think that's also, something we say and make clear on the website is perhaps, we know many people with dementia might have dysphagia or the swallowing difficulties, and perhaps jelly dots we wouldn't say are suitable in those circumstances, or medical advice should be sought to see if they were. But as they have to be chewed, they're really just at the moment recommended for people on sort of normal food diet as such.
Well, and your packaging is fun and uplifting, so it really, you think it's fun, you think it's a candy, you don't think, oh, this is gonna help me, medically. I mean, that doesn't even enter your head when you look at these things at all. It just looks really, really fun, kind of almost carnival like, and party like, and I think that's a nice can in terms of your thought and the color contrast. Can these be at room temperature, or should they be refrigerated? Can they be frozen? I suppose that would take the softness away from them if they did that.
Yeah. Yes. So they are ambient stable, so they can be left at room temperature. And I think when people can store them, it's sort of cool dark space like most sort of products. So they don't need to be kept in the fridge. And the shelf life for each tray should be shipped with at least like a month on it. But they can be put in the fridge, and a lot of people do like to put them in the fridge, especially when they're about to eat them, so the nice cooling effect in the summer. But I would say actually, if you freeze them, then that could destroy the sort of structure of the drop. So I'd say don't freeze them. But yeah, they're nice in the fridge, but they don't have to be kept in the fridge.
Okay, because I did put one of mine in the fridge, and it was like, oh, I like it when it's cool. Even more so. So, okay, well, thank you for answering that. I just thought, I should really get that question out there and get that answered for our audience. So again, thank you. Well, this has been a fascinating conversation. I'm so glad we were able to connect. I'm excited for your launch here in the US, and we'll do everything I can to help spread the word, because I just think this is a really cool product. And I thank you for taking the time to see a problem and then say, we can do better. There's something else we can come up with here, and really being innovative.
If people go to the site now, they'll be able to sign up and then get first access.
Okay, so you can go to the site now and just sign up. The site will be launching sometime later in April, and it would be jellydrops.us for updates and stuff. And then you'll get a notification when the site is up, when they have their shipments and they're ready to take orders there. And then you can also email them at hello@jellydrops.com. You also have a Facebook page, which is Jelly Drops Water Sweets. And you are on Twitter as Jelly Drops, and then also Instagram as Jelly Drops. So lots of different ways to be able to connect with you. Well, thank you so much. Is there anything that we haven't covered that I've missed in my questions that we need to sneak in there?
No, I don't think so. Thanks very much for having me. It's been a fantastic opportunity, and really exciting times for us.
Yeah, for sure. Well, thank you. And like I said, I look forward to helping lift your product up. That's kind of what we do here at Alzheimer Speaks, is try to raise the voice of everyone out there. There's so many cool, products, services, and tools out there that people need to connect with. And again, that's why we created, Dementia Map, was to try to help that along.
I really appreciate your work on advocacy in this space as well, and fantastic opportunity to sort of spread the word about Jelly Drops and the Dementia Map.
So for our audience, I want you to like, click, and share this episode. I think this product is absolutely fabulous and could really solve a lot of issues for people in a really dignified fashion. And how sweet is that? So check out, again, jellydrops.us. Thanks so much, everyone, and we will talk soon. Bye now. In wrapping up, we are going to hear from the Alls authors. And until next time, everyone, just have a blessed week. We'll talk soon.
It's time to rethink, renew, and reimagine retirement. Hey everybody, Jared Sebesta here, host of Retire Repurposed. Now, this podcast is about the non-financial parts of retirement, which many times can be even more challenging than the financial. We believe retirement is not the end, rather the beginning of what could be the most impactful, purposeful, and fulfilling season of a person's life. So don't retire, become repurposed. To listen now, search Retire Repurposed on your favorite podcast platform, Senior Resource, or Life Audio.